Hey guys, how you going? So I wanted to give you a bit more information about breaking down particular questions. Finding that one of the most common errors made in the exams is not actually understanding what the question is asking. I think it's very, very important that we understand that. So this seminar is going to kind of be about answering questions, but understanding and identifying what you need to do in those questions. Okay, what are they really asking? How can you respond to them? So to start with, it all starts with the verb. So it all starts with the verb in the question, and that's what you need to be able to identify. Here's a list of them. Come back to this freely because this list will do wonders for you when you approach your exams. I'll draw on one little point here. Difference between something like create and illustrate. Okay, so create says to make and invent. So you've got to actually be imaginative and actually come up with something original. Okay, whereas illustrate is to explain, but what you are doing is you're explaining through your diagrams. Okay, so create doesn't need to be diagrams, it's a creative choice, just why we create decision and reason in our diagrammatic responses. Okay, come back to this. Let's look at section 1 first. Section 1, again, all on the verb. This is an example of a question, so I've taken this directly out of the exams that we've looked at in the past. So if you look at your exam that you guys have got, it'll be very similar to what I've got here. So design a question. It's asking you with reference to the text, okay, the unseen text, of course, in section 1. Discuss the issues you may face in staging this in a general purpose space of a school. So already in that question, we can kind of understand what's being asked. It says discuss the issues. So already it's saying there are some issues that you're going to need to talk about. Give them to us. Discuss. And if we look back, if we were to go back, we'd see discuss literally talks about identifying issues, providing points for and or against. Okay, so when we get to this question, we know exactly what is being asked of us. We are providing the fors and against, the positives and the negatives, the upsides and the downsides to staging in a general purpose space. So we might look at saying on the positive side, it's a wide space. It can be molded. It's quite malleable. You might be able to chuck some random things in there. It's not specific. It's not made for one particular type of performance. So you might be able to change it. But the downsides are that it is quite small space, an intimate space. The black box at our school, for instance, is a general purpose space built at a school. So, when we think about that general purpose space, we think of our school at the moment. We think, it's good, but it's not great. Okay, so we would present some fors and against. Discuss obviously being the verb there. Let's look at the next one. Another question at that same exam. It says you need to demonstrate practical application of your design role. So now you're needing to design something in this space, and demonstrate is the verb that's being used. And we know that this is show by example. And again, some of these questions actually follow up. So this one says you need to demonstrate practical application. We know we're going to have to be practical about it. It's not just going to be written. Your design role through diagrams and annotations. So this question is actually quite a nice question, okay, because it helps us with that. But demonstrate, show by example. Present your design and talk to it, okay? So the design comes first, the writing comes afterwards, okay? And it can just be in form, like an annotation form. You can just annotate that if you need to, all right? Section 2, a little bit different. We know that section 2 presents, one bold question that we need to answer, but 3 dot points that we need to pay attention to. So here, okay, and we know that there's 3 separate dot points. We know that all 3 are going to require different types of answers. It's not going to say create a profile of the character, create a diagram, create a significant moment. It's not going to be that simple, okay? So 3 different types. So the first one is create, the second one, describe, and then the third one is annotate. Now, annotate doesn't sound too difficult, but you always need to look at the marks that are associated with it, okay? So we can see that the top one is 3, the middle one is 6, the bottom one is 9. So when we think of annotations, we think that they're simple add-ons, not for 9 marks. For 9 marks, they're asking you to do much, much more, okay? So if we go back, create a profile of the character. We're inventing something, okay? We're being imaginative, we're making creative choices, we're creating a profile for a character, okay? And again, you need to highlight other words in there, but we're just talking about the verbs now. describe, okay, in dramatic form, describe the dramatic form of the text and how this will inform your choices. We know that we need to provide the features through drawings and sketches, okay? And again, it says describe the dramatic form. We're going to talk about the features of the form of our play. Speaking in tongues, we know that the form of our play is representational realism, and how that is going to link to our choices. So we describe the features, we provide the features, and then we provide our choices around that. And then the last one, annotate. We know that when we annotate, we need to annotate from something. So we're going to provide some sketches or some drawings. So for instance, you might provide a dramatic tension graph like we've looked at, and then the annotations need to be very specific, and that is going to be something that they're going to be looking for because that's in that question. So that one there is a simple way of looking at it. Looking at the verbs, identifying the verbs, and then going from the verbs, what is that verb asking me, and how do I get to my approach? So let's try this. What are the verbs in this question? Okay, so this designer question, you're taking on a design role for production of your set text. Outline your responsibilities of the role and how it relates to other production roles. Discuss your specific ideas in realizing your role for the whole play. Focusing on one scene or section of the text, explain and illustrate your design choices. For each dot point, I want you to try and find what the questioning verb is. They should all be different from one another. And then try and think about what they're asking you. Okay, so what is that particular verb asking you? Okay, I want you to pause it now. So pause anytime now, and at the end of it, I'll show you what the right answers are and give you some hints on how to approach it. All right, so these are your questioning verbs. Outline at the top, discuss in the middle, and in the third dot point, there's actually two, explain and illustrate. And that I actually enjoy seeing two in that last question, on that last dot point, because it's worth 9 marks, and I want to make sure that I'm working for those 9 marks. Outline at the top. You notice that they all kind of relate to one another. Outlining is just providing some brief information around it, okay? Providing some brief features and characteristics of what it's asking you to do. So, brief responsibilities. You are just dot pointing your responsibilities. And that's all that 3 marks is worth. Discuss. We grow in marks to 6 marks. Discuss is a bit more. There's a bit more to it than just outline. Discuss your specific ideas. So now we start to think creatively, and there's more of our DREA structure. Okay, so the DREA structure really comes into it. Creative decisions, a lot more reasoning, some more evidence-based approach to that question, and you're giving, again, more consistent and there's more of a feature and more of a characteristic that you're presenting there. And then the last one, explain and illustrate. So we know that we're going to have to present some designs. We're going to have to demonstrate by presenting some, or not demonstrate rather, we're going to have to answer this question by presenting some of our designs and annotations and then unpacking them, okay? And that's what the explain is, and that's why they're linked, okay? So I enjoy that one. And as I've written there in that dot point, it actually makes sense. Okay, so you know how hard you have to work for each of those, so that's a good one. Look, when we approach questions in exams, it's difficult, and this is your first exam, so don't be too stressed about how you approach this. My hint would be, as we've learned so far, highlight through the questions as you see fit. Identify, what I would be highlighting is what they're asking of you, so a couple of questions that ask for social context, that would be what I'd be highlighting, and then brief annotations, very, very quick annotations. And highlighting the questioning verb. Identify exactly what they're asking you to do, okay, and how many marks you're going to get for that. So there's not going to be an explain and illustrate for 3 marks. And if there is, it's a trick question. They're trying to get you to slip up, so be very wary of that. That's all I've got for this one, guys, so hopefully that helps, and I'll be putting up some more soon. Thanks.